Smoothie King Center, in particular notified ASM Global that, this is like a really dangerous thing that could have very unforeseen consequences.
But they getting that money for them NBA YoungBoy tickets, and they showing up in droves like some real hustlers. I'm almost proud to see this much support. All right, man, so the hot topic right now is obviously NBA YoungBoy. So, man, let's talk about some of the things that's going on as far as this tour, the Master Tour. Now, NBA YoungBoy just had to cancel, or he didn't cancel, the State Farm Arena canceled his tour date, his second tour date in Atlanta, right? That made headlines because, NBA YoungBoy is the biggest artist right now touring, besides, CB and some other huge artists that are selling out stadiums. You know what I mean? NBA YoungBoy, he's selling out arenas, doing his thing, and it's like the bat signal to all the YNs across the nation. They see that NBA YoungBoy coming to town, they come out in flocks. I don't know how they all getting the money to make it to see NBA YoungBoy because, typically YNs don't be having money, especially the crash outs. Crash outs ain't never got no money, just for a couple of things. But they getting that money for them NBA YoungBoy tickets, and they showing up in droves like some real hustlers. I'm almost proud to see this much support. I'm proud to see the YNs have combined for something, and they wilding out at the shows having a good time, right? Now, the crazy part about this whole situation is NBA YoungBoy keeps having these tour dates canceled because the cities are scared. Because like I said, he brings the YNs out. And with the YNs comes danger. And not just danger, I'm talking about shooting danger. Somebody could lose their life. You had a 66-year-old man who was trying to just, work security. Most people who work security at these events, they do it part-time, especially at that age. He's probably already retired. He's just doing it for something to do. He ended up getting beat up by one of NBA YoungBoy's fans, allegedly, and sent to the hospital. And there's been several other instances. One of the tour dates that he had in L.A., you had a shooting outside of there. And then you had a situation in St. Louis. And now you obviously had shows canceled in Chicago, Detroit, and a second date in Atlanta canceled. Now, New Orleans is on the next tour stop. He's got two tour dates in New Orleans, Louisiana, on the October 19th and the October the 20th, right? So he's covering two dates just like he was supposed to do in Atlanta. Problem is, after the Atlanta show, they was getting some complaints. I think it has to do, with the fact that he performed the song I Hate YoungBoy, and this had everybody mad. This had people upset because there's a lot of prominent people in the Atlanta hip-hop scene that NBA YoungBoy was dissing all throughout that song. I'm talking about eating them up, tearing them up, and they just had to take it, Some of them even performed. Boosie was on the song getting dissed, and he performed earlier that day in Atlanta. So, it's just one of those things where a lot of people are probably taking the high road on the artist end, but the venues are still scared because of the power of this song, I Hate YoungBoy. It's going to be a situation like the NWA situation where they probably tell him, hey, man, you for no reason are allowed to perform that song. Just like they did NWA back in the early 90s or late 80s or whatnot when they were doing their tour around the country, man. It seems like the same thing's going to happen with NBA YoungBoy. But, icons do iconic things, and it looks like him dropping that song in Atlanta really sent shockwaves throughout the industry. So there's a discussion that's going on in New Orleans about what they're going to do to beef up security to keep the show going. Because, come on, that's his home state. That's his home audience, man. Basically, New Orleans and Baton Rouge, that's about an hour apart, what I mean? So that's like that's his home crowd. That's a majority of his fans, and they want to make sure this show goes through. But there's a guy who went on social media to talk about it, and I want to play a little bit of this and what he sees the situation is with NBA YoungBoy performing in New Orleans.
Concerned about the NBA YoungBoy concert. So concerned that even before the concert went forward this weekend, they notified Louisiana Stadium Exposition District, also known as LSED, that manages the Superdome and Smoothie King Center, in particular notified ASM Global that, this is like a really dangerous thing that could have very unforeseen consequences. Now, the response from ASM Global was, we'll hire some security inside, it'll be fine.
Now, you hear from what he's saying is there's already some security concerns, and they're reaching out to the big dogs in the industry within Louisiana and the local government to see if they can find a fix, because they want the show to go on because, come on, man, these shows make a lot of money. NBA YoungBoy, it's rumored he's getting almost a ticket a show, something crazy like that. These shows, so you could only imagine what the the venue is making, and the vendors and the parking. It's a money magnet, these type of situations. So everybody wants these shows to go on. They just don't want any violence or anything to happen.
NOPD's response was, you don't get what we're saying. There is such a propensity for violence around these concerts that is so not an if but a when, that we are concerned we'll have to activate the department to be around the downtown area to protect citizens and revelers. Now, what NOPD did, which is reasonable, is they said, hey, will you guys help fund the cost of activating the department for these 2 days? Hell, 1 day. Because an activation means they're going to have to get 400 to 450 officers on overtime for these 2 days because of this concert. ASM Global declined.
That's wild, man. So they're trying to get 400 extra officers in order to secure the concert there in New Orleans. And it seems like, man, this is going to be a huge financial cost. So somebody has to pay for the overtime for those officers. And remember, in Chicago, they actually had an agreement where they actually had the SWAT team as well that was activated. And they were going to be, I think, NBA YoungBoy's personal security for his team, escort in and out. So this happens a lot. But, you know, when venues start seeing that other shows are getting canceled, they start getting worried. And the venue doesn't want to cancel because regardless, at the end of the day, they're still going to have to pay the financial commitments to NBA YoungBoy and his team, according to a lot of reports out there. So they don't want to shut the show down, pay the artist, and he didn't even perform. They didn't get all the people who paid for their tickets in there, and they get the financial benefit from that, man, because they're in this to make money. That's why they're having the show in the first place. And they know how much money these shows make and how much money it's worth. So they're trying their best to make it happen. But it looks like local government, they want to make sure that they can prevent anything bad from happening on a crime aspect just because of the crowd that NBA YoungBoy brings. Not saying that they will do anything bad, but they feel like they will do something bad. So the NOPD, so the police department, is looking to activate officers and get them overtime paid for. So, you know, there could be a financial incentive, but it looks like they're looking out for the benefit of the public, man. They really want the public to be in a good place here and make sure everybody goes home safe, and that's what we all want. So good on the NOPD for that. You know what I mean?
NOPD said, can you cancel this concert? ASM Global declined. Wait, no, I'm wrong. They said, hey, we won't cancel, but if you send a letter to the promoter making us cancel, you can get it that way. That was an attempt to have the NOPD and city cancel the concert so the promoter would sue the city versus suing ASM. Now, why is this all important? One, we are in a deficit and a budget crisis because of police overtime. There are instances in which the NOPD must protect us and do overtime to make sure people are safe.
This seems like one of those situations. Might as well open up the checkbook, go ahead, pay for the overtime, and make sure everybody's safe, because you don't want anything bad to happen. Because nothing really super bad has happened. Yes, you had the situation in St. Louis, I believe, or the situation in Kansas City where the usher ended up getting hurt, but it wasn't any serious injury or anything like that. You don't want a shooting or anything like that. So, man, it makes sense that they want to have extra officers. They should, man. They should, to be honest. And I know that doesn't sound cool to say, but I agree with that totally. You know what I mean? Because everybody want to just go out and have a good time.
This weekend, NOPD is going to have to be activated for Sunday and Monday. They're very concerned about the NBA YoungBoy concert. So concerned that even before the concert...
Okay, so that's just playing again. But you guys see what the issue is here. And to be honest, the answer seems like to make sure that everybody is safe and that the concert's a safe situation for those 2 days that he's here, or excuse me, that he's there with his home base, his home fans. They just got to make sure that they go ahead and push to have more security, more officers there. And somebody has got to just pay for it. You know what I mean? That just seems like the simple solution. Now, do you see this being an issue in other cities and states? I mean, he's got several cities still left, man, all throughout this concert. He's going to all the major markets because he's been locked up. And they've been missing NBA YoungBoy. And you can tell by how many people have been showing up to these venues and showing up to these concerts that they really, really want NBA YoungBoy in their cities. And they really, really have been fiending for these concerts, man, and these tour dates, man. So we'll see how this plays out. But I'm pretty sure everything will work its way out. He'll get the security. They'll make sure the people are safe. And the concert will be a smash just like we just seen in Atlanta.